Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, tonight, we're going to revote on last week's personnel report. As a reminder, board members should vote in the same way that they voted last week. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call on this, please?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Chewbacca?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Abstain.
Ms. Cass?
No.
Motion carries.
Point of order. I don't think that Ms. Graham's.
Oh, does Ms. Graham's count since she wasn't here last time?
Oh,
Okay.
You're correct.
Thank you.
You're correct. Yes.
No
Motion
offense, Barney.
carries.
Yeah.
Because it is a revote of action taken at a previous meeting, Ms. Graham, you were not present. We'll put you as not present at this vote as well. Thank you. I apologize for that confusion.
Okay. The team from McPherson and Jacobson will be on Zoom this evening to present to the board about their superintendent search services.
No, they both were here. They were all in the Zoom below. Doing the Zoom first.
Is he going first? Yes.
McPherson is.
Who's the? They're here.
Thank you for being here. Can you take a moment to introduce yourselves, please?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Can everybody hear us?
No.
Okay, I need a little bit louder, and also if maybe we can hit some lights because it's hard to see.
I don't know which screen to look at.
And also, I'd say Jamie, Linwood, you guys, if you want to move over this way so you can see better. I mean, oh, you can see right here.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say, that's why I said I don't know which screen to look at. If someone doesn't think I'm putting my back to them, I'll.
That's much better. Thank you, Mr. Knott.
How's the audio now?
I'm going to turn this
I was going to
off.
say, turn that on.
That thing is loud. Oh, much better. That was like, made a giant difference. Okay. Turned off the air filter.
Okay.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your flexibility and permitting us to present via Zoom this evening. We certainly look forward and hopefully to be able to work in person with you in the district. My name is Dr. Ralph Ferry. I'm one of the consultants with McPherson and Jacobson, and I am a retired superintendent from New York and New Jersey. I spent most of my time in New Jersey for 34 years. I was superintendent of schools in Middlesex County, very just south of Rutgers University in Monroe Township. I know somebody who went to Rutgers University.
Yes, I did.
And then I moved on to New York and was superintendent in the Salonica Central High School District, which is the largest central high school district in New York State, just adjacent to the Queens, New York on Long Island. And I've had the good fortune of doing several searches in Virginia. I'm finishing up the Powhatan County search very shortly and worked on the Norfolk search. We had a wonderful experience in Roanoke, and a colleague and myself completed the search for the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources in Fairfax County. And they had been looking and had unsuccessful searches for that position in Fairfax for 3 years. And we were able to complete that search just recently and placed an outstanding candidate in that position. So thank you again for having us. Michelle?
Good evening. My name is Michelle Hamilton. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, again, my name is Michelle Hamilton. I joined McPherson and Jacobson about 4 years ago, and I retired as well as an area superintendent from Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. Spent about 27 years there, and now I relocated to Georgia, working with the Georgia Department of Education as the district effectiveness specialist, in which I go and support districts that are underperforming. And so my total experience equates to about 30 years in education. And so I'm looking forward to it, as my colleague Ralph said, the opportunity to work with you guys to help you find the ideal superintendent for your district.
Well, I understand we have 15 minutes to present, and you have the proposal. So what I would like to do is just quickly go through the 5 phases and then turn it over to Michelle. And then I know that we'll have the opportunity to answer any of your questions later on. But I want to emphasize to begin with that this is your search. And even though we have 5 phases that we recommend, we will meet with you in phase 1 to really outline what this search is going to look like and what specific goals you have and what you want to see out of the search. So in phase 1, what we'll do is we'll work with you to collaboratively establish the criteria and the characteristics you would like to see in your new superintendent. And then we will establish the timelines for the search. And I know that they were outlined in your proposal. We can adjust them however we need to after we meet with you. And then we will determine the advertising venues, many of which are included at no cost. And there are some others that based upon what you would like to see in terms of our recruitment process. And but however, we will never advertise anywhere that has a cost without your approval on the front end. And that goes to say with all of the documents that we produce and all of the materials that we produce, nothing gets published without you telling us that you've given your approval for us to publish that information. The next phase is for us to come to the district and to conduct stakeholder input meetings and work with you in terms of you telling us who would you like us to meet with. And we'll spend that time speaking with teachers and parents and community members and administrators and support staff and county supervisors, community groups, what parent groups, whoever you feel is important. And to us, to me, and I'm sure to Michelle, most importantly, we really enjoy meeting with students. It's very important to us to have the opportunity to get information from the students in terms of what they want to see in their next superintendent. I've done enough of these searches to know that when the students tell us what they want to see, they're spot on. So that's very important to us as well. Then what we will do is develop and distribute the application and advertisement materials and begin to recruit and track applicants. We have 125 consultants throughout the country. They'll all get notification of the position opening. And in addition to that, we have over 1,000 individuals in our database that they will be able to see that the opening exists there. And, we take a lot of pride in our recruitment process. The one thing that we do not do, and I know this was a concern to you, is we do not go and recruit applicants that we have placed in a district because that just would not work and it's not something that we do. We take a lot of pride in the fact that the longevity of the applicants that we place is outstanding because we believe in continuity and educational leadership is very important. So a majority of our placements are in their positions for 5, 10, 15 years. Then we will work with you to, we will then start doing the evaluation of the applications. We will look at, we will start reference checking. We go very deep into the referencing process where we don't just stop at the references that are listed by the applicant on the application. We go further and ask if there's other people that references know that we can contact, because our goal is to really make sure that there are no surprises when we present a candidate to you. Okay, no surprises. That's important. Then we work with you in phase 3 at developing interview questions. We usually ask you to submit interview questions and we'll collate them and we'll make suggestions for interview questions as well. And then we will come to you and present our candidates that we think meet your criteria. And we will also give you the list of everyone who applied. So you may ask us, well, why didn't we recommend this candidate? We'll have an explanation for that. One of the things that we do, which is very powerful, and I just had the wonderful opportunity of looking at the candidates that we're presenting in Powhatan, is the candidates are required to prepare a 9-minute video. They have to answer 3 questions. We'll propose questions, but we'll work with you in terms of what you would like to see those questions to be. And it's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. And when we come and present the paper packet to you with all the references and the application, the resume, the letters of reference, transcripts, etc., we will also show that 9-minute video, which really does shed outstanding light on the candidates. You can put a video presentation to the paper. And then you determine which of the candidates we're recommending you want to interview. We'll work with you on setting up the interview date, the interview location. We contact the candidates, we let them know. We do all of that legwork for you. And then you'll set up the interview process. There's a variety of ways districts choose to. Some districts choose for the process to be completely confidential, where it's once you get all the information, we present the stakeholder input report to you. We encourage you to put that on your district website because we would like the stakeholders to know that they were heard. And then some boards decide, no, we're just going to interview the candidates. We're going to have a first round, perhaps a second round, and choose our finalists. Some school districts choose to have stakeholder group interviews for the finalists. And we would work with you in terms of setting up those stakeholder interviews and also providing very clear clarification to the stakeholders in terms of what their role is, and that their role is advisory and to give you feedback, that they do not select the next superintendent. That is your role as a board. So we'll talk about all those opportunities with you, and you give us the direction in terms of what you want to see in terms of setting up the interview process. And then finally, we come in and we work with you once you establish who and hire your next superintendent. We'll come in and work with you in phase 5, which is to work with you on, and the new superintendent, on goal development and also on roles and responsibilities, the superintendent of the board. And we feel that that's very important because then we will stay with you and with the candidate, with the new superintendent for at least the next full year. And we do have the guarantee in the proposal in terms of the 2-year guarantee should they leave for any reason, that we repeat the search with the exception of any costs associated with it. Michelle, you want to jump in and add anything that I might have missed on the phases? You have to unmute.
Yes, I apologize. Just want to jump in and talk a little bit about the timeline and just what kind of makes us different. We start the process. If we go into an agreement with you guys, we will start the process and tailor the timeline to fit and meet your needs. Generally, it's a 2 to 3 month process. But again, we are here to support and work for you and to provide you with the best superintendent, not to rush. So we will establish that timeline together during the first initial meeting as we move forward. Just want to reiterate that we are very transparent in the process. We pride ourselves on the sustainability of the leadership, and then we make an investment. And Raf already mentioned that we spend time with the candidate or the superintendent, the named superintendent, at least a year out after he or she has been selected.
Great. So I think that covers pretty much everything in terms of the 5 phases. I know you may have questions that we're going to answer later, but we have I think I have had the opportunity to participate within superintendent searches as a candidate with a variety of different search firms, and now with McPherson and Jacobson. And I purposely chose to work with McPherson and Jacobson because of the process that we have in place and the flexibility and the work we do with the board. The one thing we will ask you also to do during phase one is to identify who the point person is in the district. And that could be someone such as an administrative assistant to the superintendent. In some districts I've worked with the point person being the board president. So on a few of my searches, a couple that I did in New York and actually the one I'm completing in Virginia now, I've gotten to know the board president very, very well. So we remain in communication. It's kind of like we're on speed dial on our cell phones. So that's what we're all about. And that kind of gives us the 15 minutes that we promised we would stay within. Unless you have any questions you'd like to ask us now, we'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ralph, for your introduction, and Michelle also. We do what we'd like to do is ask a few questions of you now during this live stream portion of the process, and then when we go into our closed session later, we'll also have some more follow-up questions for you. So by the way, I'm Sue Cass. I am I don't know if we need to introduce ourselves real quick here, but I am the board chair, and I'm going to see if any of my board colleagues would like to ask a question. I'll defer to you guys first, and if you want to just introduce yourself if you have a question and where you ask. Anybody? Jamie, anybody want to ask a question first? Mark will.
Sure. My name is Mark Chewbacca, a member of the school board. So one of my questions has to do with what do you, with expectations, I guess, of school board members, what do you think? You said you've done a bunch of these searches now. What is it that you wish that all school board members knew about these searches going into them?
I think most importantly to me is that it's so important that all the board has the information about the process. So when we provide feedback throughout the process, our expectation is that feedback will be given to all of you. That's critical because it's really important that in the end we have a consensus of all of you in terms of who your candidate is. Also, very important for you to know that the pool is getting shallower, okay? But I will say that, so the expectation in terms of the number of applicants isn't something that should concern you, but I would tell you that the Powhatan search has been very, very successful in my view in terms of the quality of the candidates. That's critical. And just most importantly is if there's ever an issue or a concern, bring it forward so that we can address it. We don't want any surprises. We don't want, our goal is to make sure you all have the information all of the time. And that's how I function as a superintendent, and that's how I work as a consultant in these searches.
And I'll just add, again, being transparent and open with your stakeholders, involving them as much as possible, just to ensure that you hear their voice in this process, because the superintendent will represent, of course, your district. And so Ralph has already shared keeping the line of communication open. If there are any concerns that you have on our end or through the process itself, we are here to serve you as we serve you as the consultant.
Yes. One more point is the importance of confidentiality, because most often the applicants, particularly those who are sitting superintendents who are successful in their work, that's a question they will ask us. So, when we tell them, yes, this is a confidential search, to the point of if you're going to, even when they meet with stakeholders, we encourage confidentiality. We know sometimes that doesn't always hold to be true, but that's important as well. And one last thing is the turnaround. Like, for instance, if your point person says we need to have the I'll use an example, the interview questions by a certain date, to get those interview questions to that person so we can move the process along, because that's important to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
Linwood, do you have a question?
Yeah. I'll jump in. Thank you. My name is Linwood Hudson. You have a couple of steps along the way where you kind of do some research into the background of the candidates. I guess, could you explain that a little bit more? And in particular, do you use things like just Google searches and social media searches as a part of those?
That's a good question. Of course, the applicants will list references on their application. We will contact all of them. But then we ask them, are there the references that we speak to, are there other individuals we can speak to? And then we have a very good network where we can talk to people who who will know candidates as well. But we also dive into the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, Google searches, and really dive deep, because we don't want any surprises. And sometimes we may have an outstanding candidate, that might have had an issue. That's sometimes is the nature of being a superintendent, right? So we want to make sure that we call the people that would know best about that issue, so that if we do bring that candidate to you, we will share exactly what we found out, so then you can make a determination if this is someone you want to move forward with. And that's really important to us. I ask the question to the candidate, and I ask the questions to the references. Is there anything in your background, or is there anything in their background that would either embarrass the Montgomery County School Board or McPherson and Jacobson LLC? We do not want to have any of that as part of our process. And then, of course, once you get the finalist, there's the education background check, financial background check, and criminal background check that the home office completes.
Do you do any kind of personality tests? I mean, how do you identify if somebody is a right culture fit for our organization?
Bill, you want to go with that one, so I'm not monopolized?
No, you can go ahead with that one. Then you're kind of getting into, there. That's the purpose kind of it's a short video, but kind of, hear and see the disposition of the person when you see the video. But we kind of steer away from that. I haven't been privy of any of those types of like a Gallup personality survey.
Right. What we do, though, is we really take it's so important in terms of the criteria that we develop collaboratively with you, because those criteria are going to really shape the pool that we're going to look at. So, for instance, if you say it's really important that someone has experience in a district of a similar size to you, or the same type of demographics as your district, or experience in Virginia working in terms of the governance of how budgets are developed, in terms of the county supervisors. We look at all of that, and then we will talk to people and ask questions such as, what happens if there's a challenge? How does this person react to it, and so on and so forth. But I have been very pleased with the superintendents that I've had the good fortune of placing during the searches that I've conducted.
Did you have a question, Penny?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Penny Franklin.
Good to meet you.
So I'm just going to read this exactly the way I did it.
Mm-hmm.
What recruitment strategies do you use to actively recruit a diverse pool of candidates for the position?
Glad you asked that question, because that's something that we take a lot of pride in. We will encourage you to, and I'm going to just go to I want to get this right. We will encourage you to advertise in venues that we can recruit minority candidates. We will encourage you to advertise in the National Alliance of Black School Educators. We will encourage you to advertise in the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, okay, so that we can really cast out the net across all venues to ensure that we have a diverse pool of candidates. Every slate that I've presented, the candidate pool has been diverse. And I take a lot of pride in that. It's important to me.
Thank you.
If you Google me, you'll see the work that I did, particularly, and some of the work I did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, could, to some people, be controversial now. But, it's important to me in terms of equity and educational excellence and access for all students. So we will also have that same philosophy in terms of our candidate pool.
And again, ensuring that we get the best qualified candidate for you and for Montgomery County. And then we have other mechanisms, social media. And when I say social media, like LinkedIn, I think we have Twitter account that we share and put out there that, the search is on. And so again, based on my experience, we do bring in a lot of diversity as far as the candidates are concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie or Dana,
Okay.
you can duke it out.
Every time I had a question ready, somebody took it. I know you spoke to what you do to input for community and the input that we're looking for there, but how do you find that it impacts the search with the different types of input that you get from the students and the community and the teachers and?
Great. I'm glad you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, sir, if you don't mind me adding to that. I don't know if you guys are aware that we not only have a very tight-knit community here in Montgomery County, but we do have a very diverse community, and we want to take care of all of our communities. We love all of our communities, and we care about what all of our community members and stakeholders want, and we value their opinions. So just adding to that question, what is your process, and maybe you're going to have a lot of various input. So maybe gathering all that and kind of toggling it into one way, and how you're going to use that to try to find that perfect fit for that perfect superintendent that's going to be able to handle all of the, the diverse needs of the community.
Absolutely. So what we do is, again, we will work with you in developing who do you want us to meet with. And we will literally we'll start early in the morning and work until late at night, the number of days it takes us to get that done. So I've had meetings where I've had 200 people. I've had meetings where I've had as small groups as 4 or 5 people. But we want it to be inclusive. So we will ask you to tell us who you want us to meet with. And then we send out invitations to those individuals. Okay, so, and we basically ask 4 open-ended questions. The first 2 questions help us recruit. We want to know all the great things about Montgomery County. We want to know all the great things about Montgomery County schools. But then we go to questions 3 and 4, and we ask the folks, question 3, what are the challenges, issues in the county that they think need to be addressed if the next superintendent, if he or she is going to be successful? Okay, and that's usually takes up a lot of people really just want to go to that question, all right? And then the 4th question we ask is, what are the characteristics, experiences, personal characteristics that you would like to see in that superintendent? And we just, we just open those questions up and we take notes and we report what everyone says back to you by group. We don't identify them by the name, but we do by group. Like we'll say, the teachers said, the administrator said, the community members said, this group of people said, the students said, okay? Now, there are people who can't get to those meetings. So we will put those same exact questions on a survey on your website in as many languages as you tell us we need to, okay? And that usually goes up for 1 full week, that online survey. And then Michelle and I look at the results of the particularly the survey that we did in person, and we will come up with themes that will be an executive summary. So the stakeholder report that we present to you will have 3 sections. It'll have the executive summary, it'll have all the information we were able to get during those stakeholder meetings, and then it will have pages and pages and pages of what the folks on the online survey report to us. Now, we do not edit the online survey. The only thing we will edit out is if they use names, we'll take the names out, or if there's inappropriate language, we'll take that out. But we don't correct grammar or anything like that for the online survey. It's what the people are telling us throughout the county. And we really want to advertise in many venues throughout the county that this online survey is available. And then that stakeholder input report is important because when we present it back to you, you will then have more information in terms of what you believe this next superintendent needs to, who they need to be, and what they need to be all about. But it also tells our prospective candidates what the folks in the county are thinking. So they can look, they want to really dive into that stakeholder report and really analyze it. So when they come to you and interview, okay, that you'll be able to determine right then and there if they've done their research on the county. And quite frankly, they'll also determine, is this a place where I really want to be? It's important.
Any other questions from the group for right this moment?
We've had some very interesting stakeholder meetings, particularly I have experience where I've had 200 people, and believe me, there were diverse opinions in those stakeholder meetings. And at some point there was a lot of, I'll say the word debate in and among the attendees. But this is what we do. We facilitate that and get everybody to tell us what they're thinking. It's very important to hear from everyone. So that's a very good question.
Can I ask maybe just to follow up on that, because that was kind of a 2-part question, and I kind of want to go back to the first part that Ms. Bond said, which is basically how does that community input impact the search? And what I got out of it so far, you did speak to how it may affect the prospective candidates, because they can look at some of that community input and figure out if this is a good fit for them, or even tailor, their responses or whatever to that. But can you speak, since you've done so many of these, can you speak a little bit more to how you use that information and how it might impact the way that we as a board go about that search, or go about questions or the process or anything like that? I don't mean for you to go too far more into it, but just a little bit more on that one.
Quick example, and then Michelle, please.
Okay.
My quick example is this. If we find that one of the big concerns throughout a county or a school district is financial support of the budget, okay? What that's going to tell us is we need to talk to candidates and search out candidates that have had a background in effective budgeting, an understanding of finance, and quite frankly, they're creative in terms of how to get the resources necessary to ensure that the students are supported throughout the educational process. That's like an example, just going with budget.
Okay. And also, keep in mind that once you get the feedback from the stakeholders meeting, that report, as Ralph said, there are some common themes that will surface. And so as you develop and decide the characteristics of the candidate, the superintendent that you're looking for, using his same scenario, we can say financially astute, or put that as a characteristic that you would like to see. Some will stakeholders will say want to ensure that the superintendent has an open door policy, so to speak, and transparent and communicates and involved in the community. And so you will add that as part of the characteristic of the superintendent that you're looking at for in your brochure that we will help create for you guys. So basically, you take that report, hone in on those areas. And of course, as board members, you know what you're looking for as far as a superintendent, and we make sure that that's there. And then once those characteristics are identified and the search begins, then like Ralph said, we're looking and recruiting candidates who meet those criteria.
Got it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I think we pretty much asked at this point. We're going to chat with you some more in a little while. I guess that's the plan, correct, Ms. Drake? But right now, we'll say thank you. You get a little break. And then we will come back to you again. We'll be in a little different venue and we'll chat some more.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
very much.
Bye-bye.
Board members, we need just a few minutes to reset and get ready for our in-person candidate. If anyone needs a little water break or anything like that, we'll be just a few minutes.
So we'll just, this time around, we'll go with the same question, same, I wrote down who asked. So we'll just kind of
do the
go
same.
what we did this time.
I feel like
You did, well, you just, well, it's a two-part question,
I
so
think
you,
it's-
she
yeah,
asked one
maybe.
part, you asked the
Yeah.
other, and follow up with the other. She's been sitting here.
yeah. I thought we talked about that. Or she should have gone first. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. All right. Did you say you need to go use the bathroom?
Giroux.
I'm just gonna stand up.
Thank you, I was gonna ask that myself.
Or if I'd kept my maiden name Davis, everybody could pronounce that. I have one right here. I'm all set. Hector.
Hey, I'm sitting here with Penny right now. Okay. I wonder, is there any way we can set up something in church, like, Okay. Sandy Giroux from GR Recruiting is here to present to the board about their superintendent search services. So Sandy, it's all yours.
Hi there. Good evening. Nice to be here. And I have our president, Gary Ray. He is with us, and he'll be able to talk with you during closed session. I understand with the live streaming, there's a little bit of a conflict with the audio, so he'll be able to talk with you. And our vice president, Ryan Ray, is also here. So they're watching right now, and then they will participate. And I know Gary recognizes some familiar faces here. So I'm Sandy Giroux, and I'm excited to be here. I've worked with GR Recruiting for the last, 4 years now. I am a Midwest girl at heart. I'm from Iowa, but I spent 35 years in public education in School District of Palm Beach County in South Florida. Graduated from Iowa and decided it was too cold. I was going to go at least 1 year where it was warm, and spent 35 years there as teacher, principal, area office person, district office, and then ultimately I was chief of human resources. Spent my career as the chief of human resources, and then made a quick shift when we became instant grandparents to 3 children that my daughter's a school counselor in Charlotte, North Carolina, and brought home 3 of her students. It was just going to be a temporary thing. It became permanent. So I said, we have to go out and be part of the village. So now we're right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Rock Hill, South Carolina. So it's nice. I worked in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools for a year as well. So it's nice to be here with you. And like I said, Gary will greet you, and Ryan when we get into closed session as well. But we're excited, and part of the key with this is the key experience is the key when it comes to GR recruiting and a superintendent search. Gary has more than 40 years experience working with school superintendent searches, and all of the associates that we work together with have extensive background as well, from principals to chief of HR to school board members to previous superintendents as well. We're excited with the fact that you as a board chose that you want to do a nationwide search. That says a lot, and that's one of the things, part of our mission is that we are going to actively recruit and then support a board and superintendents when we come up with that successful candidate. And we will promise to you that we will reach out throughout the United States, because we do have associates throughout the country, and we will talk about that when we get there in a minute. And the exciting thing for me, I said I had this delightful drive as I came from Rock Hill up to our meeting this afternoon. You're a desirable place to be. So we know that you're going to attract candidates, and your partnerships with the different universities, that all makes a very desirable position. So I know that we will be able to find some highly qualified candidates for you. With GR Recruiting, Gary has made a commitment, and we celebrate diversity. We have many associates throughout the United States, and we pride ourselves on the fact that they are men and women of color. And the positive to that is every associate brings a different perspective, different ideas, and a different network that they bring to the table, so that when we start getting to the point where we're actively recruiting for you, each of the associates brings a unique perspective when we're looking at candidates. So this process, and I don't know if we can adjust it a little bit. You've got it in front of you so you can see as well. Let me back up. Process you'll hear, and it's not completely unique to what you might hear from other groups as well, but we have 6 different aspects to our process that I'd like to go into detail, and you can look at those. But the critical part, while we have our framework, our template with the process, we will tailor it to what is important to you as Montgomery School Board members. And so we will go with this, but I'm going to go in detail a little bit more on this. And the first thing that we will do, if, let's say, if we're the successful group, I have to clearly wait until a contract's signed, but I say tomorrow morning, one of the important things, as a board, we know collectively what you're looking at, but one of the important things that we do is we will do individual board member contacts, either phone calls, virtual meetings, whatever works for you. But we know that as each individual board member, you have passion points that are important to you as a board member, and that you are saying, Sandy, if this is going to be a successful search, this is what I'm going to need from you. So it's very important for us to get your individual perspective as well as we get your collective perspective with that. Then we will determine, let's see, let me get to, okay, where am I pointing? The wrong way? This towards this direction? Oh, I think, yes, it worked. Sorry about that. Thank you.
All at once.
So once we do the individual meetings, then we will also, as a group, determine stakeholder groups. And we know, for us, community input is significant. And we will take our lead from you as well, so that you tell us how many groups you'd like us to meet with, what types of groups, faith-based, students, administrators, non-instructional instructional employees, you name it, business community members, whatever it is you'd like, you determine this number of stakeholder groups, and then we will be meeting with them. We will be your eyes and ears so that we will go out. We ask that you don't attend those meetings because we feel that, from our experience, that you get more candid responses if board members are not present. What we will do is we will bring all of that information back to you at a meeting that we will then follow up to help finalize the profile. And if you see that, we'll work with, set the timeline, and then we'll finalize the profile based on that input that has been given to us. One of the critical parts that we will ask at our first meeting when we work on timeline and iron that out, we will also ask for compensation. What do you see as a range for compensation for this upcoming superintendent? We will provide state and national comparisons, comparables for you, so that you can make a well-informed decision, because that is a critical piece when we go out to advertise. And like I said, you're not committed to one set number, but we have something that's a salary that is then in the range of X amount, so that when we're recruiting, that also helps to get candidates. A critical part for all of us is the regular communication. And while we ask for one point person, every one of you will have my cell phone number, Gary's cell phone number, Ryan's cell phone number, and we're always available. As far as we develop quite a strong rapport and friendship as we go through these things as well. And like I said, the critical part is, as I lay this out, the process is yours, not ours. There we go. We have a partner, K-12 Insight, and that's unique. And they have helped us to create a survey that I said one of the positive things from COVID is we've been able to use and find some great ways to use technology in a more efficient way. So in addition to the stakeholder meetings, we have a survey that we will, part of the survey, we have 28 research-based characteristics that, if a superintendent is successful, they will exhibit some of these characteristics. We know that no one person can have all 28 characteristics. So part of that survey is we ask all of the people that take it, please rank of the 28, what are the 8 most critical characteristics that you think Montgomery County Public School needs? Then we'll take that, and like I said, we will, you categorize by students, we'll take the survey, parents, teachers, community members, future parents of students. We'll bring that information back to you then, and we'll put that online. We'll ask that we'll put it up on your main district webpage. Real successful districts, they've used, every single school has put it on their home webpage so that parents can come and check that out. And as a result, we've had thousands of people that will respond, and the more input we get, the better profile that we will be able to develop from that. And we will take as far as however many, whatever additional languages you would like in addition to English, we will do that as well. And then once we have all of that information, so we have survey information, we have one-on-one board member information, we have stakeholder meetings and information, we're going to bring that back to a meeting and share collectively what we see emerging as a profile, share that with you and get your input to finalize that. So that's what we're going to use as we move forward with advertising. Did I go? Did I get it out of order? Let's see here. There we go. So what I mentioned about the diversity that we have in our firm, one of the things, once we have that profile, we will send that to every one of our associates so that we have what we believe, what we have set as a profile for the 8 top characteristics for Montgomery County. We will send that out to all of our associates and ask them to look for people that they know in their network that they feel would meet this profile. And one of the things that Gary's significantly that's important to him is we aggressively recruit candidates. We don't wait for people to just come to our website and apply. I say that your next superintendent is possibly somebody who has no idea they're going to come to Montgomery County Public Schools. They're busy doing their job right now. They're successful. They're a rock star with what they do, but we're going to entice them to at least apply and consider this. So that's one of the things that we will do, and we will work with, our track record is to bring forward a very diverse pool of candidates for you. We will use our website. We will get your approval for advertising throughout. We'll have recommendations for you, and we will work through that. Okay, I went the wrong way. I'll have it all figured out by the time I'm finished. So with the candidates, once we have a pool of candidates that apply, we will take your profile and we will then start matching the candidates with the applications. Part of that is also what I'm going to tell you is we do some cross-checking. So if Sandy's been aggressively recruiting a candidate for this position, and I really think he or she meets the profile, then we're going to give that name to one of our associates who hasn't been working as closely with as I have, and say, okay, I really think he or she meets this profile. Will you make a phone call, do some checking, have a conversation with this person, check their references, do some other things, and see if you agree with me, and come back and let me know. So it's, like I said, what I kind of call a cross-checking with our candidates for that. And you can see with the complete extensive background checks that we do, our job is to make sure that everybody we bring to you is exactly who they say they are on paper, and so that you don't have any surprises that are given to you whatsoever. We will use our video interviews so that once you see them on paper and we screen on paper, you'll be able to have a quick snapshot look, like a 3 to 5 minute short video with questions that you'll be able to screen as well. We'll give you one more look at the individuals. I think I've hit with our candidate pool that we will bring you. And this day and age, it is challenging right now. I don't need to tell you all the challenges that public education is facing right now with superintendents, but our job is to make your job hard. So we might not bring quantity, but we will bring you quality. And what we want to do is make certain that they match your profile and that we have a diverse pool of candidates for you to choose from. One of the things that we do is we do maintain lots of contact with candidates we're going through as we go through the process. I will call it candidate care, so that it's not like Sandy's just reaching out to one person to say, you know, will you apply for Montgomery County? I'm going to share different pieces of information and things and keep them current as we're going along to keep them interested, because the process we will recommend would be like a 30-day advertisement, and so we want them to be interested as we go through that process. I'm going to get real excited about this part. When we get to the part where we present candidates to you in our slate, we utilize what I'm going to call a consensus building matrix. So it's an objective scoring instrument that every one of the board members, we will present to you what we feel are finalists to you, and then we'll ask each board member to rank them individually with your own opinion, with the information that we give you. Then we will bring it back, and we have a matrix that we will score this. We'll pass it back to you where you can see collectively where the candidates fit. And we do this several phases in the process. We'll do when we present candidates to you, we will do it when we're doing the first round of interviews, the second round, and we can do it as many times as needed until, and all it does is it's a very objective, professional way that you have some data in front of you that you can then base your discussions. I see that we have 10 candidates, and when we went through the matrix, it looks like 6 bubbled up to the top, and there's a big discrepancy with the last 4, and I'm making that up as, you know, as from different discussions. But then it gives you a baseline to start your conversations and discussions about who do we want to interview, how many people do we want to interview. But it's a very solid way to help you work through this process as a board. We will work with you to develop interview questions. One of the questions that we even ask your community when we go out and do stakeholder meetings, we ask, if you were a board member for a day, is there one question that you would like to make certain that the board asks the superintendent candidate? And we will collect all of those questions. We will share those with you, and we will help you develop those. We will help to organize the candidates, and then as we get to the end, as to the board's pleasure, we can help to reach a contractual agreement with you if needed. So one of the things that Gary felt was really critical in his 40 years of doing this is he said once we placed a superintendent, sometimes they were an island and they didn't have any support. So one of the things, in addition to our 2-year guarantee, we work hard because we look at this as a marriage between a board and a superintendent. So that's why we take the time up front to match those characteristics with the board and with the individual so that you have longevity with your superintendent candidate. So we feel very confident that you will have a superintendent for a minimum of 2 years or more. And if that's not the case, we will absolutely come back and do that at no charge other than candidate costs. But the support piece is that depending on the board's request and the superintendent's wishes, we will mentor that superintendent for a 2-year program that will work with them, and we can provide support, board, superintendent, team building, governance, whatever we want as you build your new leadership team together. So that's critical, and that's one of the things that we've been able to develop with our K-12 Insight partner. And then as we move forward, we have offerings that we will support for customer service technology and with all of your parents and community in general that we work with K-12 Insight as well. And so that's I think we've got our last spot here. Am I making it close to 15? The last part that you should see, you should have one page. Did we put that at the end? I think we talked about that, but you should have one handout that just basically tells you why are we unique, because you'll get some things from different firms as well. But I think, and without me reading it to you, I think that you can see some of those, some of the bullet points. But we have experience in Virginia where we've just recently finished the Fairfax superintendent search, and I am right in the middle of doing Spotsylvania County. In fact, I leave here, and tomorrow I will be in Spotsylvania County starting some stakeholder meetings. So we feel very comfortable with Virginia and the rules that we have statewide, and feel like we have a great opportunity here, and you have a great opportunity to find a really dynamite superintendent candidate. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Appreciate it. Well, we'll go ahead and do what we did before. So I believe, Mark, you started things
I
off.
think I did, yeah. So I guess we're asking, obviously, some of the same questions that we had asked the other firms. But so for you, having been through this process, what are the things that you wish that all school board members knew going into this process?
I love that question. Excellent question. The one thing that I would tell you is you are in the market right now for hiring a superintendent. Superintendent candidates are also going to be in the market for selecting a school board. So the one thing that I wish all school boards knew going into this process, and you're asking now so you get the benefit on the front end, they are researching you as much as we're researching them. So they're going to go back, they're going to watch school board meetings, they're going to go back to archives, they're going to go back, they're going to watch interaction with each other, they're going to watch as far as interactions with previous superintendent.
hands full.
I do, and I do know nationwide what's going on, but what I'll tell you,
That's torture to watch.
is the more that you can show that you are a cohesive professional group and that you can come together for common good for students, the better that's going to be, because they are. So that's a great question, and they're looking at boards. And like I said, it's not, I mean, I've watched some of your board meetings, and you're to be commended because I can see professional, positive camaraderie. And yes, we all have our weak moments or different times, but how we rebound from that, I think that's critical. So that's a good question. So if there's ever a time that, you want to put your best foot forward for company, it's now. All right? Does that answer it,
I'm
Mark?
going to have to clean my house.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Linwood, I think you were next.
Hi there, Lewin Hudson. You already touched on this some in your slides, so I'll ask a slightly modified question on this in terms of your background checks, reference checks, incorporating things like Google and social media into the process. I guess, could you clarify at which level, like in terms of all candidates, top candidates, select candidates, like when you do what kind of checks?
Yes. Another good question. We are continually, the minute we get candidates that are coming to us, even at the beginning, like I said, even maybe before we have a cross-checker that comes in, we are continually checking references. So there will never be a candidate that will come to you, even at that beginning stage when we present candidates. You will never have a candidate that will come in front of you from us that we have not done all of the social media, the Google, all of the background checks. I mean, you name it, we've done that. And it's not uncommon to have, say, a superintendent, if there's any kind of situations in their history, we always ask the candidate, is there anything that you want us to know that we'd need to make the Montgomery County School Board? Now, generally, we will have already found it. So if we ask that person, but from even just your own personal experience with things that happen, as long as we have an explanation for what's happened, then we'll also determine the risk for that as far as if it's too significant or not. But there will never be a candidate that we will bring to you that we have not gone through all of those phases.
I think mine was the next question. And how would you help us find a superintendent who is a fit for the culture of our county and our school system? I think culture is, and somebody who fits us. How would you go about figuring out who is the right superintendent for this group?
Right.
And I don't mean us, just the board, I mean our county.
Community. Excellent question. That's also why, one, that we spend so much time with stakeholder meetings and with community to receive community input, but first and foremost, why we spend the time individually with every single board member to find out exactly what is that important point to you. Because like I said, we are looking, this is a marriage that we're trying to blend you together, and we'd like to, national average for tenure for a superintendent is 2.5 years. We're looking at, between 7 to 8 for our track record.
Thank you. Penny was next.
Pretty well answered my question.
Okay.
You've pretty well answered my question related to your search for a diverse candidate pool. So I don't know what to say now. So I'm just asking how you do that, but from the get-go, you talked about that and how you all go about doing that and your associates being involved, and so.
How successful have you been in finding diverse candidates? I mean,
Very successful.
I'm gonna say,
Absolutely.
if you read the statistics, definitely the statistics are that, diverse candidates are not the majority, so.
That's true, and that's another thing that we will find out exactly when we do our individual conversations with you, exactly what you're looking at as an individual board member, because that's what we're going to try to bring back, exactly what you're looking for with the diversity piece. I mean, we've had searches before that maybe they had a man previously. People said, you know what, we think it's time for a change, and we're really looking more toward a female. All right, so we're not going to exclude all men by any stretch, but we're going to look at that. If that's something that the board or the community says that they think is a good fit, we'll go through that. So we'll take your input for that to bring back the pool of candidates that we bring to you will reflect the feedback that we've received for diversity.
And I'm assuming that would help when you're recruiting the candidates, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got kind of a two-part question here. So Ms. Parton and I are going to share that. I'm Jamie Bond. And you've touched on this well, so I don't mean to be redundant, but talking about the surveys that you do and things like that as you're reaching out to get community input online, but what's your process for, say, the meetings? And I know you said maybe that would be something that the board would not be there, so you could touch base, but do you set up like meeting points that, how do you get the community to know that? What's your process on that?
Sure. We will work with a point person, whether it's your communications person, whoever that might be, and once we receive the input from you for which stakeholder groups you want, we will set them up, whether they're local high schools, community buildings, community centers. We'll work with the communications person. If we need a translator to be present for those meetings, we'll have those people there. We will bring in as many team members as we need so that we can kind of get a blast like in a couple 3-day span. So we can start early in the morning, we can do evening, public forums at nighttime when people are off work where they're available. And we will have, and sometimes they're just general open public forums, sometimes they're specific. So we just invite, say, students to a certain group. Doesn't exclude them from showing up to any kind of a public forum that they want, but sometimes you'll say, I want a venue for just students to attend, or I want a venue just for teachers to attend, or things like that, and we'll be happy to work with you for that.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Dana Parton. Thanks for coming. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Bond said and also what a couple of our other board members had asked about as far as diversity in a candidate. I'm going to repeat again that we have a very diverse community and very diverse districts, and we, all 4 of our districts have very unique and different needs. Sometimes it depends on location, sometimes it depends on other things. So how would you go about trying to find a candidate that would be able to take a lot of different types of situations and be able to bring that together to come up with one solution? Because unfortunately, we found that out over COVID. A lot of one shoe doesn't fit all. So it's very hard when we had to make decisions, and I know it was very difficult, very stressful for us. But things will continue because of the diverse community, but we want all of our communities to know that we hear them, we value them, and we want to be there to help them in any and every way we can and try to make things equal throughout our county in all of our schools. So your process on maybe putting that information to what you're looking for a candidate for this particular county.
Sure. Good question. And when we gather that information for that profile, then we're going to start looking for some candidates that already have a proven track record working in diverse districts. So I'm not going to bring somebody to you with a background that they have a district that's completely different from Montgomery County. So we're going to try to find some like districts so that we always say proven or previous experience will predict future success. So we can see if they've been successful working with diverse communities in a diverse school district, then we know that they can transfer that to you. Does that answer it?
Yes,
Diane?
ma'am, that sounds
Okay.
wonderful. Thank
All right,
you.
Okay, well, thank you, Sandy, for your
All right.
time at this moment.
Good.
We are going to adjourn to closed session. And then we'll be going to another location. And Brenda, I guess you'll let Sandy know. Okay, good. I should have known. And so we will talk to you again in a little while.
Sounds great.
At this moment, though, do I have a motion to enter into closed session as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia to discuss one purchasing matter?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in closed session.